Ready.
Right. It was interesting. Then we tried selling it furnished, and we tried selling it,
Good
finishing the
morning
basement.
to the Economic Development Authority meeting. It is 8 a.m. on Tuesday, August 13th, 2024. First item of business is the roll call, and we do have a quorum present. Item 2.1, EDA, July 9th, 2024 minutes.
I'll offer a motion to approve those.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 3.1, administrative activities, July 2024.
Good morning, Commissioners and President Mark Graff. You have the report in your packet. I will just note, under the public housing program, the solar panel project is moving along and should be wrapping up in the next week or two. They're finishing installing the panels on the duplex houses this week, and next week we'll be installing at Broadway House Apartments, and then we should be finished with that project. Note, under the Home Buyer Assistance Loan Program, one loan closed in the amount of $5,000. Note, under the Get It Ready Loan Program, one loan closed in the amount of $6,480, and a loan payoff was received due to a home sale. Under the Multifamily Rental Rehab Loan Program, note, one application was received. Those are the highlights. End of staff report.
If there's no questions, I'll make a motion to accept the Economic Development Authority Administrative Activities Report for July 2024.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 4.1, EDA, August 13th, 2024 claims list.
My usual question, anything out of the ordinary?
Not really.
Looks pretty low today.
I'll make a motion to approve the EDA August 13, 2024 claims list.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 5.1, receive hotel feasibility study report.
All right, Commissioners and President Mark Graff, the EDA approved a proposal from Gray Hospitality for a hotel market study and feasibility analysis at the May regular meeting. Attached, you have their executive summary report with their findings and recommendations. I don't know if you've had a chance to review that. The consultant wasn't able to join us today, but we can, if there's any questions or discussion, we'll do the best we can. Chris and I both met with the consultant prior to this meeting.
I read through it. I found it interesting that there's room for the higher end, which I would agree. We don't have that yet. And that would be interesting to have a boutique, soft type of hotel. I think of interest is a lot of people in New Ulm say we need hotels because they see it at the festivals when we definitely do need the extra rooms. However, the question then is, can somebody make a living off of that hotel? And then it's a little bit different story. And I was really interested in the report and that we do have room for not the economy, but more the luxury end of hotel rooms.
I think with the changes we've had downtown, there's more to do downtown. I think having a hotel located in the downtown area would be strategic for the tourism that really happens year-round in New Ulm. And it's not just the festivals. We have the baseball tournaments, the hockey tournaments. We do have things year-round where those hotels are booking up. And I was pleased that the study supports another hotel because we have been hearing for years that people think we need another hotel in town. So we were very pleased with the results of the study. Chris, do you have any comments you want to chime in?
No, I think, when we look at it, that 65 room kind of area will work downtown, and that mid to mid high end, kind of your boutique Marriott or something like that would really do well, and then hopefully that'll drive downtown businesses to really think about hours of operation and things like that being open because there's potentially captive audience going to be down there any time of the day.
When we had our last hotel study, I remember the company that was looking at building looked at 3 locations. One was the mall. They wanted to tear it down and then rebuild it up. And the other one was where the German apartments are now. And then the third one is they liked the putting green area. This was their 3 choices, and
Do you mean city center apartments? Is that
Yes.
what you're talking
Yeah.
about? Okay.
that's where they are. So yeah, I'm excited about it too. So how do we get this out to,
Right.
what's our next step?
It's already out.
Getting it?
We've sent it to the hotel developer that's already interested, and then any developer that's interested, it'll be out and it'll be on our website as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, there's a more information, a full study that I can send to developers upon request. We'll probably just put the executive summary out on the website, but there's more information we can send. And it's all been sent to the group we've been talking to that's interested in doing a hotel. But anyone else can request it.
Great, I'll offer a motion to receive the hotel feasibility study report.
I will second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 5.2, Small Business Incentive Grant Program changes.
All right, Commissioners and President Markgraf, we've been having ongoing discussions about potential changes to the Small Business Incentive Grant Program. After our last conversation, we were directed to bring back the following proposed changes for consideration. So what staff is recommending is creating a point system for applications such as preference for childcare business, retail, job creation, et cetera. Those are the conversations we had. What we're recommending is implementing a point system to give priority to the following business types: childcare, retail, restaurants, and light manufacturing. Businesses in these categories would receive 2 points, and all other applications with other business types would receive 1 point, so that those types of businesses that we're wanting to focus on, those applications would rise to the top and get priority for funding. All other conditions for the program remain the same. Applications at the top of the waiting list would be awarded on a first-come, first-served basis. Business must be open 3 months prior to submitting the application. Must meet with Wendy Anderson prior to approval and submit a business plan, et cetera. All the other requirements would still apply. We also talked about going back to issuing 5 grants a year at $10,000 each. This year, the grant amount was reduced to $7,500. We talked about going back to $10,000 like we originally had set the program up. And then I would also like to set dates to open the application window for the 2025 grant cycle from November 1st to December 31st, 2024. Once those dates have been set by the board today, we will issue a press release to local media outlets and share the information on the city and EDA websites and social media platforms in mid-October to alert local businesses that the grant window will be opening. Information on the applications received during that application window will be presented to the EDA in January for consideration when you decide your annual funding allocation for the program. I would note that because the businesses need to be open 3 months prior to applying, during that application window, if they haven't been open for 3 months, they can't apply because they're going to be open for 3 months, at some point next year. They'll have to wait for the next round. Does that make sense? So in order for them to submit the application, they need to have been open for at least 3 months already. And then also a condition of this program is they need to be open less than a year. So that's going to be tricky for me to make sure I'm checking those dates and anyway, so this is open for discussion. This certainly can be changed. This is just what we were hearing and what we're bringing back to you, but it's still open for discussion before you vote.
I wish Wendy was here today, because part of me wants to somehow give her a little bit more authority to also maybe assign a point or something, if, because she's so knowledgeable, and she's gonna really know if this business is gonna make it or not, just based on what they brought to the table with her. And I would like to figure out some way of giving her, and I don't know if she gives a point, or they gotta be approved by Wendy Anderson before they submit the plan.
Okay. I mean, that's not something that ever came up in any prior discussion, so that's kind of new information to consider this morning.
Well, it doesn't sound like the point system is just based on the industry. It looks like there'll be other factors, and so maybe the quality of the business plan, I think staff should be able to review and potentially.
I really don't know the first thing about what's a better business plan than, I don't
No, but Wendy
have
does.
the knowledge. Wendy would,
Yeah.
but she said staff, and that would be me, and I don't feel I'm qualified to rank them based on their business plan.
Because I'm thinking, what if it's a business, it's one of the first five, and maybe Wendy's really like, wow, this person's really not ready yet, but yet they meet the bare minimum. And the next person, number 6, has got a really good business plan and really looks like they're gonna make it, and we have to say no. I don't know.
I think first come, first serve. I mean, it's clear. I mean, I just, for what it was before, how you could get the $10,000 to, now that we're trying to be a little bit more particular. I mean, we could continue to split hairs on this for months, but 5 grants per year at $10,000 is the staff recommendation. We have, a certain amount of money that we allocate to this program, and that is what it is.
Yeah, and I'll note, that's not only the staff recommendation, that's the feedback we got from commissioners at our last discussion. That is what you wanted to do.
I mean, I just feel like we're always coming back to approve more and to do different things, but the grant program is what it is. I mean, it's not a guaranteed handout.
I can tell you there are some businesses that have come through this program that I was like, I don't know if that's going to make it, and they are still in business today. And other businesses that I thought would be successful have closed. So it's a crapshoot, really. Any new business is. It all depends on the person running it and how they do. But
A question I have on the point system as presented here. If it's first come, first served, what does the difference between having 2 points and 1 points make?
well, I could get 7 applications that get 2 points, so I would take the first 5 submitted.
Okay. So the points would still rule over
Right,
the first come, first serve.
right.
Okay.
Could we expand the category just a little bit to services? Sooner or later, every one of us
Tom,
needs...
Can you talk into your microphone, please?
Sorry. Sooner or later, every one of us needs a plumber, an electrician, somebody to fix our air conditioners or heaters or something. And and I've had some good experiences with people like that, and some of them are pretty new. It seems to me we should. I'd like to see them get added to that category.
I think,
of
Tom, you're
things-
talking more about the trades versus services. Services would be like your beauty salons, your insurance agent. You're talking about trades like carpentry, plumber, electrician.
Well, okay, then we'll call it trades. Add trades.
Yeah.
To the category then.
I think that's
Whatever you
clearer.
want to call it, it's just a matter of terminology anyway. But they are businesses, and for those of you who've tried to get a plumber, an electrician, somebody to work on your air conditioner, sometimes that can be a real challenge to get somebody, which is an indication to me that we don't have enough of those kind of people in town.
So then that brings up the other discussion. If you're going to do trades, are you going to include them in the list of home-based businesses?
Right.
Well, if they're home-based, they wouldn't qualify for this grant. A lot of those new plumbers and things are running out of their home, and they would not be eligible. But if they went into a brick and mortar, Tom and I have had discussions, and he's talking about the businesses that have a commercial address along Front Street or that kind of thing. Am I correct, Tom? You're talking about?
Yes, you're correct, and maybe I'm a little bit biased toward Front Street because that's where I came from. And, and then one, I had some do some work for me. And maybe you've seen his ads. You ever seen any of the ads for Jake the Snake? Jake is a drain cleaner. And when you need a drain cleaner, you need him really bad.
You do.
And that's another. I guess you could call it a trade, but and I'm not. He's been in business long enough where he wouldn't be eligible for what we're doing.
Well,
anyway.
and that's actually a perfect example of a business that would not be eligible because it is a home-based business and it is located also outside of city limits, because that business actually did apply and was denied for those reasons.
Oh, okay. I mean, with your categories like that, I'm just relating. Maybe there'll be another one show up sometime, but I understand with Jake.
Okay, we have childcare, retail, restaurants, and light manufacturing identified. Commissioners, is there a need for trades? Do you see wanting to add that?
Why not? I mean, it's a
I'm
small
not against
business.
it.
You don't think so?
I mean, as long as it's falling under the umbrella of what is needed with a storefront, and why not?
My only other comment that I disagree a little bit with Commissioner Betker. Last year we had 14 applications, right?
Right.
And now we're saying we're only going to get about 5. And we're
Well,
economic.
and we would have had more than 14, but we stopped taking applications. I've had many, many, many calls about it, and I've explained that they'll have to wait until we open the window again.
I just look at what this group is supposed to be doing, and that's economic development, and that's what these folks are trying to do, is get a business up and running. And we're only going to get about 5.
We also have limited funds. I mean,
I know, I understand that.
we can't go in the red.
Are you thinking about going back to more grants at a lesser amount?
That or increasing that $50,000, which we've been at for quite a while. I don't know. I think we need to encourage, and hopefully some of these new businesses become our businesses down in the retail downtown and in other parts of our community. Sometimes that's the one thing that's just not quite enough money to get that door open.
But honestly, if this $10,000 is the only thing incentivizing them and keeping them here, I don't see that being, the only thing. I mean, we have a lot to offer as far as incentives and just our community itself. I mean, there's a lot of things happening, and I just don't want to just throw this grant out there as a way of saying, come to New Ulm, open a business, you're going to get $10,000. There's a lot of businesses that want to come here as well. And I think that when you have a fixed pot, you have a fixed pot. However you want to divide that up, but continuing to just kind of add and add and add. I mean, we have so many other things that we're doing as an EDA, and I feel like this has been decided, if you want to go to 60 or 70, but I really think that we need to stick, where we are, because we have a lot of other things that we're working on as well that have a cost as well. That also relate to economic development, including daycare and including, hotels and retail development. And we have our hands in a few very important things. And, new business is one focus, but it's not our only focus. And I think people will still come here. Conversations I have with people, they really like the community. They see what's happening. I had so many people comment to me outside of the area on the volleyball tournament. I mean, we're doing things, we're getting attention. And having that fixed amount of money, it is what it is. I mean, there's a process, and I think that it's fair.
Yeah, and they shouldn't be relying on this grant to get their business open. They have to be able to make it to the 3-month mark to even apply for the grant. And the grant is meant to get them from that 3-month mark to that, through that first year, because most businesses, if they can make it through that first year, they tend to succeed. And so it's supposed to be something to aid them, but it isn't supposed to be what's keeping their business open. They should be able to bring in the revenue they need to stay open. This is just giving them a boost.
And you're also limiting the number, the number of apps that are going to be coming in, because we're chopping out the service sector, which made up a lot of our grant applications to date. So again, it's not going to eliminate all of them, but it'll reduce the number coming in.
And for a while, we did go more than 50,000. We'd added it, and then we had meetings and discussions on, let's go back to the 50,000. Let's do $5,000, $10,000 ones. I'd like to see us stay there, at least for the coming year, because that's what we've kind of, like she said, already decided. Let's stick with that for now. The thing that I'm wondering about is we're opening the applications in October, we think, right now, and then...
Well, I'm proposing November 1st to December 31st, but that could be changed. That'll be decided today. That's a 2-month window.
Do you guys historically think maybe more businesses open in the spring, or does it matter? Do we want to change our window, or are we set on the window?
I'm seeing businesses open
Okay.
year-round. Every time I turn around, there's a new business, it seems like.
Even if they're opening in the spring, that's spring, summer is when they're going to be getting the most of their business likely. So once you hit that fall, winter months, they're now open 3 months. That's probably when, timing-wise, they could use a $10,000 boost. So I
Sure.
think that window times out well. There's all sorts of different rabbit holes we can go down with this program, but my suggestion would be to go with what staff has brought back, with the understanding that maybe we get Wendy more involved in her reporting process and input on what she's seen specifically to these grants and business plans, and any suggestions she would have after going through another year cycle on how maybe she could play a greater role in identifying and helping with that point process. If that's something we want to look into more, she probably is going to need to do a little bit of trial and error herself with this next year.
I like going with it as presented. Certainly, it is something that we can change next year, but that gives us a whole year to decide. And I keep going back to the need for us to do strategic planning and decide what are the core things that we really want to do as an economic development authority. And then if this is one of those, that maybe next year, if we say, yep, this is something we want to do, we can certainly increase it at that point, because it falls in with what we want to do strategically. But until we really have that, and I'm really clear on this is, yep, our focus, I'm in favor of just keeping it as is for another year, and we can always do more later.
Yeah, and again, I'd just like to point out that the recommendations we're bringing to you today, this is direction you gave us. So this is what you said you wanted the program to be.
Yeah, I think it's prioritizing the businesses we identified as more of a need. And although on a first-come, first-served basis, my understanding is that the businesses that receive 2 points versus 1 will still get
They'll rise to the
priority.
top.
So,
So, I mean, the only thing is if you would want to add trades into the who gets a preference. I don't know if that was decided or not, but.
I feel like we would need more information on what the needs are there. I don't personally know a lot about where we stand with the need for new business in the trades. I know there's always a need, but is it greater than childcare right now? Is it greater than restaurant? I don't know. That would be a hard thing to add without more concrete information, maybe.
Well, I think a new business that is in a trade still can apply under the whole umbrella, like Andrea said earlier, so they can still apply. They just may not get in on the point system.
Right.
Extra point because of,
Sure, that makes sense.
Yeah, if you're not putting them in that priority group,
right.
yeah, they could still, yeah, any business can apply, but the businesses we're highlighting would rise to the top and get priority.
I'm in favor of small steps.
Yes, I agree.
Commissioners, what are your wishes on 5.2?
I'll take, try this motion here. I move that we move forward with a grant application timeframe of November 1st to December 31st, 2024, that of those applications, they are given priority based on the point system provided here for child retail restaurants and light manufacturing, and are based on a first come, first served basis, based on complete applications that have met with Wendy and have a business plan submitted in an amount of $50,000 with 5 grants of $10,000 each for the 2025 grant cycle. Does that cover everything? Sounds good.
I will second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 6.1, Economic Development Activity Report.
All right, Commissioners and President Mark Graff, I'll just highlight a few things. The New Ulm Partnership went over the comprehensive plan top priorities adopted by the Planning Commission. The child care team did not meet in July. Under the Commercial Property Rehabilitation Loan Program, Note 2 applications were received. And then I'll just mention that myself, President Mark Graff, Mayor Backer, and several others went on a tour of Western Homes Senior Living Campus in Iowa with Oak Hills staff, as that's a model that they are looking at bringing to New Ulm. So that was very interesting. It's a huge campus. It's like its own little city. Really, really interesting.
And that,
I'll make a motion to accept the Economic Development Activity Report for July 2024.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
just want to add 2 minor things. One, submitted payment to the county for George's, so hopefully we'll get the deed sometime in the next couple of weeks so we can transfer that over. And then specifically about strategic planning, so city's comp plan will wrap up sometime this year, and then once that's done, we'll bring those economic development items to the EDA and then expand on those through strategic planning process. So we'll probably go through that in 2025.
You mean strategic plan?
Yeah, strategic.
You said comp plan.
comp
Comp
plan.
plan's
Strategic
wrapped.
plan,
We're
and then-
doing the strategic plan now.
And then do an economic development
Just to
strategy in
clarify.
25.
Perfect.
So.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 7.1 is closed session potential sale of real estate. At this time, I do declare a conflict of interest on my part. I am a board member of one of the interested parties, and so during this discussion, I will recuse myself and remove myself from the dais, and Commissioner Kalk will take over the meeting. Right now, we do have a potential closed session. Anybody want to make a motion on that?
I think before we go into closed session, we were going to have the developer give their presentation, so we'll do that
Perfect.
first.
Come on up.
So come on up, Jay. State your name for the record.
So now you can go into this.
Yeah, good morning, members of the EDA. My name is Jay Scott. I'm president with Rebound Real Estate. So Pleased to be with you this morning. We just wanted to give a real brief presentation for your discussion that's going to follow, just to walk through kind of our proposal and potentially answer any questions specifically related to the reinvestment of certain proceeds, partial proceeds from the sale, and make sure that you were comfortable with what we were presenting, and again, just be able to answer any questions that you might have before you make a decision or contemplate a decision. So it's just kind of the agenda that I wanted to go through, which is just, again, an overview of the, oops, this is not turned on. Oh, sorry. Are you able to see the screen? I don't see it up on the,
They're coming to help you.
Mike to the rescue. There we go. Sorry. There we go. Thank you. All right. So I just wanted to go through, again, you can see here, just introduction of the letter of intent, basic terms, and talk specifically about 3 different reinvestment options, and just, again, be able to answer any questions you might have regarding that, and then go through the timeline that we're talking about as well. So first of all, the letter of intent, which I believe you have a copy of here, this is just real high level here. So we've worked with staff to come to an agreement with staff on purchase price of $7 million for the property. And really, the reinvestment option is a consideration for you in terms of being able to continue to generate some income from this investment that you have in the property, and really kind of be a somewhat of a partner with us going forward with this. As I mentioned before, part of our interest in this is showing a commitment of our company to want to reinvest in the community, or invest, I should say, in the community. This being really the first step of what hopefully will be, multiple properties and opportunities to partner with you on, and trying to meet some of the needs of the community, including, housing, of course, retail, restaurants, and possibly hotels, you talked about earlier as well. So we would have a period of due diligence here. I'm going to go through the timeline later, though, that'll be a little more specific. This is kind of a general timeline, but we think that it would probably go a little bit quicker than what's shown on the screen here right now. So what I wanted to focus on more so was just to make sure, again, there weren't any questions with this. We've proposed a reinvestment from the EDA of $1.5 million back into the property. It would be for a 7-year period, and there would be 3 different kind of investment options here. So the first would be what we're calling preferred equity. It'd be similar, like providing a promissory note. It'd have a fixed rate of interest, so it would be a somewhat secure position really behind just the primary lender before any other payments were made to any other parties that are associated with that, including ourselves. So it's a more secure position, I guess, and therefore looking at just a fixed interest rate. It may be an option that you would want to look at. You could also look at it as sort of a debt component to the property, kind of a subordinated debt component, or you could be actually part of the partnership in a preferred equity position. But how we classify it, we can certainly work through those details. The second option is really more of a pari passu equity investment with us in the property itself. With that, you do get direct benefits of ownership. It would again be just behind the distributions would be behind the senior bank lender. And then you would receive, well, I don't know that you can receive depreciation as an entity, but you would still have the benefit of the appreciation of the asset over time at the end of that 7-year period as well. And then option C really would just be a blend of both, where you could take part of the investment and have it invested as preferred equity, and the other part be considered as just a true equity investment. So this is just kind of a graphic to show how what we would call the distribution waterfall shows the flow of cash flow from the property. We would have a loan on the property. And then after that, it would go to the preferred equity position. After that, it would go to the investors. And how we structure them, I guess, all a little differently. But what we're proposing in this case is the equity investors would get a 6% return. And then after that 6% return threshold is hit, then future cash flow would be distributed 70%, 30%. 70% going to the equity investors, 30% going to the sponsors or rebound.
And again, this is just showing more details about what this would look like if you were in a preferred equity position here. You would have 6%, so $90,000 of annual income that would be generated from this through the 7-year period. This shows the graphic here of how that would look. You'd get those payments, probably monthly, and then at the end of that duration, the full principal repayment would be made. Option B, again, is just a pari passu equity investment alongside our capital into the property here. Again, you'd be receiving a 6% preferred return, and then 70% of the remaining cash flow above that 6% return would come back to you as an investor in this. So this generates a little bit higher returns. Obviously, it's a risk-reward profile. It's a little bit riskier in the sense that you're now pari passu with us. You're not in a priority position getting the first payments. You are getting the first 6%, but we would be getting that with you with our investment. So we would be, concurrently kind of running as partners, if you will, on the project itself. And this kind of shows the difference. So if you go back to the first graph, or recall from the first graph, it was $90,000 a year. This is projected income based on, the property economics today that you have in place and what that investment return would look like each year. The reason year 3 is a little bit lower before it rebuilds again is we would have a 2-year interest-only program with our lender. So it actually enhances cash flow for those first 2 years, and then you have a principal interest payment that commences in year 3. So we have a loan program with Freddie Mac, so it's an agency piece of debt that we would secure for this particular property, which really provides us the best, most attractive interest rates in the present environment. So it's a program that is very applicable to kind of housing projects that we've utilized before.
Jay, I have a question on that slide before you move on. Does this include then in year 7 the principal repayment?
This does not reflect that, no. But you would have that, plus you would have appreciation. So at that point, whatever the property is worth, we would be sharing in that appreciation based upon our respective ownership interest in the asset, whether we were to sell the property or refinance the property. But at that point in time, our commitment with you is we would either sell it or we would purchase your interest out and retain ownership of that, but it would be at fair market value at that time. So there would be an appreciation of that value of that $1.5 million. So in year 7, we don't show year 7 on the graph here. What would happen is that refinance event or sale event would occur. You'd get back the $1.5 million plus the appreciation on top of that investment of $1.5 million. So this is just reflecting the annual cash flow being generated prior to that time for the first 6 years. And then the blend of both is option C. So if $750 was preferred equity at the fixed 6% interest rate, and then the other $750 was sort of standard equity. What would that look like? Well, as you might guess, it's sort of a combination of the two. So it's a little bit higher return than you would have if you were just a preferred equity shareholder, and then a little bit lower than if you were a true kind of side-by-side partner with us on the equity itself. So kind of a blended approach between the two. We thought we'd at least show that. It could be any combination of these events here or these different options, but wanted to be able to show you how that looks. And this graph kind of shows roughly just in graphic form, what I've just described. So really your preferred equity is the lower return, but lower risk profile. The equity position in the blue in the middle represents a pure equity investment, and then the blended approach is sort of the greenish color on the far right side of that graph. And this represents the numbers behind the graph itself. So you can see the numbers, the projected numbers annually of the income that would be derived from that $1.5 million investment in the property over that 6-year period. Again, not reflecting year 7. In year 7, you would have a form of appreciation if you were one of the equity or the blended version. And so here's just some general timelines. We're here today to present that letter of intent to you for your consideration. As part of that, we would ask that you evaluate the different investment options. Again, I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have here. And then if you are interested in moving forward, we would like to move forward with the purchase agreement negotiations with staff and your attorney. and then come back to you on September 10th meeting for formal approval of that agreement to be able to execute it following that meeting. And then we would move into a due diligence inspection period, which would be relatively short, probably 45 to 60 days in reality, and then move to close. So it would be something that we could close on this calendar year. I don't know if that would be important to you or not, but again, our interest in the property is not just simply an investment, it's an opportunity to partner with you and invest in the community. We're interested in the property. We'd love to make some improvements to it. Not that it hasn't been well maintained, it really has. But there's some opportunities, I think, to continue to enhance those units for the residents. And then also the possibility of building on that outlot out in front, adding some additional housing. So one of our goals is to try to bring additional housing to the community, and we see this as a opportunity, kind of a strategic step to be able to do that, to be able to utilize that piece of property to build. We've got a preliminary design, which I think you maybe have seen in the past, shows approximately 20 units of housing that we can add to that site in the future. One thing I would say, if there are other parties that are interested in the new building opportunity on that property, we'd be happy to meet with them and talk with them about any kind of a partnership there if there's sort of a strategic alliance that makes sense with somebody that's in the local community as well. Yeah, and why Rebound? Well, again, one of our commitments as an organization, as we shared with you in the past, is really community investment, right? So we try to make strategic community investments where we can help enhance a community with various needs that the marketplace might be lacking. So we want to be here beyond Garden Terrace. We've got the Lamplighter property that we're working through now to be able to close on here in the next probably 60 days or so. And we are working with Paul, who's in the audience, as you know, down at 225 and 227. So we're committed to the marketplace and very excited about New Ulm and all of the wonderful things that you have going on in this community. And we just want to be a part of that and want to bring some of our expertise and capital to the marketplace to help facilitate some of the development activity or opportunities that might be in the market. So with that, I don't know if there's any questions. I kind of went through this very quickly, so I apologize if I just kind of glossed over it all. But again, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Hi, I just have one question in regards to any additional build on that property. You said that you'd be kind of looking at, potentially other partners to locally invest. If you don't get that, if that opportunity doesn't come to you, would that still be the plan for you to move forward with an additional unit?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't need necessarily a partner on it, but if there was a strategic alliance with another party that we could partner with, maybe it was a senior component or something like that, we're very flexible in working with the local community to make that a reality.
And I think in our discussions, didn't we talk about giving them a 5-year timeline to develop that property, or it would come back to the EDA?
Yeah, we're
That could be part of the purchase agreement.
city attorney's doing some research on what that time limit can be. Anywhere at a minimum, it would be 2 years, but we're seeing if we can get that up to a 5-year period, but that'll be part of the purchase agreement.
This property is as a city councilor, is in my ward, so I talk to these folks quite often, and their biggest fear is the increase in rent if it's sold. What's your comments to that?
Well, I think there would be a natural progression of increasing rents over time, which you probably have done as well, kind of keeping up with inflation, but no, we don't have any plans. We want to retain the current management. So we're not going to implement any new management. We're going to get to know the property and the residents. And really what we want to do is be able to reinvest back into the property. So there's some opportunities, I think, for some enhancements. Again, I think the property's in beautiful condition and we're excited about it. But I think the residents will see the benefit of that. And even if we develop that out parcel out in front, we're showing different types of outdoor improvements that would benefit the current Garden Terrace residents as well. It wouldn't be exclusive just to the new building itself. They'd be more like, pickleball courts or some different improvements that we would try to do that would benefit the community itself and adding some additional amenities. So, no, we would not. And you would be a partner of ours under this proposal to a certain degree. So you would be at the table. We would have those discussions, but it's not our position to come in and try to raise rents on people. That's, we're a long-term investor in these communities and the properties. We have many across the state and a number of small communities, and really we build relationships with the residents as well, which you've probably done a great job of doing in the past as well.
Yeah, and I can tell you, we do a rent increase every year when we own it as well. I've been talking with Lloyd Management as we're starting to look at budgeting for next year, and they're proposing roughly a 5% increase for 2025. So we increase the rents when we own it. It's no different than a private owner. So keep up with the other market rate properties in the area.
Any other questions?
Did you have any other questions for Jay on the three options that we'll be discussing in closed session? Because he won't be here during the closed session, so.
I do not.
I do not either.
Well,
Then
thank
if
you
we're
very much.
ready to head into closed session, Vice Chair Kalk, I'll have you read the statement that's on the agenda.
Right. The New Ulm Economic Development Authority will go into closed session to develop or consider offers or counter offers for the purchase or sale of real and personal property located at 1001 and 1021 North Garden Street and the vacant lot identified by parcel number 001.570.178.004.90. This is an exception to the open meeting law pursuant to Minnesota Statute 13D.05, Subdivision 3C, 3, and 13D.01. Subdivision 3, 2, discuss the potential purchase or sale of real estate property. Do we have a motion to go into closed session?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Any further discussion on that? We have a motion and a second. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?